Before we start today's video, big news over on the official Discord server. Looks like glyphs may be coming out this week. Actually, who knows? By the time this video is uploaded, glyphs might be out already. So that's exciting. I'm not sure. There's some debate in the community about whether or not you need to hoard resources. I'm not sure yet. But this does mean that in the near future, I can start doing full faction reviews, and that way I can give you an idea of what glyphs you need to be using on them. So keep an eye out for that. I'm very excited. I'm going to start with one next week, actually. So, all right, let's go. Let's do a video. Come on. Oh, hi. You're new here. Oh, well, welcome. So you want to play Heroes of Middle-earth? Don't really know where to start in terms of raids? Okay, well, you've come to the right place. Okay, raids are pretty much the game right now, so it's going to be important for you to get teams ready that are going to do well in the raid for you. This is my list of the top 5 teams for free-to-play beginners to farm to be the most effective in the raid as soon as possible. I'm going to go over each of these 5 teams, their strengths, their weaknesses in the raid, and then where you can farm them, and also which chapters I think they are best served in. Now, my criteria for this list is that they have to be farmable within the first 3 chapters of any of the campaigns. There is one exception to that, but we'll talk about that when we get there.
Huh?
Let's start with Rohan. This is a really good starter team, and you're going to be able to use them in the arena until you have a stronger team to put in their place. There was a long time where it was just the Rohan trio, because Ealdred was inaccessible for free-to-play players. You can find Éowyn in the Chapter 1 of the Shadow campaign, you can find Éothane in Chapter 1 of the Light campaign, you can find Ealdred on Guild Node 1-2, and Éomer is in the Arena supply. These guys have a lot of strengths and actually not too many weaknesses, which is why I think they're the first team that you should go for the raid. They do a little bit of assisting. Éomer's passive grants him assistance. Éothane's special 2 is a pretty good AoE that also gives everybody counterattack. They have cleanses. Cleanses are important. They're going to be very important for Chapter 4, and even outside of Chapter 4, if you go into the arena, cleanses are really important. If you end up farming Ealdred, he has decent healing. And also, Éomer's passive heals him and Éowyn on his turn. They are very early farm team, and they only have 2 hard node farms, unless you are going for Wilfwyn. She's also on a hard node. They also have really great plug-and-play potential if down the line you end up getting a team that is working better for you than Rohan, and you can just plug in Éomer, or you can plug in Éowyn, or you can even plug in Éothane. Now, in terms of weaknesses, they don't have too many weaknesses. I would say that their healing is mediocre at best, and also their abilities have pretty high stamina, so sometimes those abilities won't be ready at key moments in the raid. Something to look out for. Other than that, they're a really solid team, and they're capable of hitting 900,000 points in Chapter 1, if you're willing to put in the time and the resources. And so with the AoEs and the assists and the cleanses and even that little bit of healing, in my opinion, Rohan is really well suited for Chapters 1, 3, and 4. And that's not to say that they're bad at Chapter 2, but their kits are really set up for those other 3 chapters. Next up, let's talk about Road to Rivendell. Road to Rivendell, which consists of Strider and the Hobbits, is another really excellent early game farm for the raid. You can get Strider from the daily objective, you can get Pippin off of Guild Node 1.5, you can get Frodo off of Light Hard Node 3.1, and Merry off of Shadow Node 3.1. Sam is in an adventure of his own, that's how you unlock him. You're gonna need your other hobbits and Strider to be at least 4 stars, and then you can start working on upgrading Sam. And it's really worth it because Sam is a really good character and the team overall is pretty good in the raid. Road to Rivendell is really good at a few things. They have assists. Frodo and Merry, on their basic, when you max out their abilities, they will call to assist another hobbit every time they use their basic. So good, especially in Chapter 1, when you need to apply stacks of Don't Rush Me as quickly as possible. They also only have 2 hard node farms, so that means you can kind of farm them and Rohan at the same time. They also have really great plug-and-play potential, like Rohan, but you're looking more at pairs. Pippin and Merry are a really good combo to throw on another team, and then Frodo and Sam, while not quite as good, are also a good pair. Strider, just by himself, is really good, and in the arena he ends up next to your Rohan team. You can also plug and play with Pippin just by himself. His special 1 is a pretty good heal and also a cleanse, and his special 2 hands out might to the entire team, which is really handy. They're also really fast. Frodo, Pippin, and Merry are actually 3 of the fastest characters in the game right now. Who knows going forward, but in Chapter 3, having 3 turns to start really comes in handy, but you'll find that out eventually. Now, of course, there are downsides. I mentioned the assists earlier. The problem with those is that they come on the level 6 of the abilities, so it takes a lot of resources to get there. It's going to be a while before you build those abilities up to level 6, but once you do, they're a very powerful team. They also can't take too many hits in Chapter 2 or like Chapter 4, at least not for a while. Like once they're 5 stars-ish, they're looking a little better, but before that, they die pretty quickly. So with all these things in mind, again, I think the best chapters for Road to Rivendell are 1 and 3. They're okay in 4, but you're really relying on that Pippin cleanse. And then in Chapter 2, they just don't do a lot of damage early on. It takes some time to build them up to that. My third team, and our first shadow team, is Isengard.
Whom do you serve? Saruman.
Isengard can be a little frustrating at times, but they will serve you well, and the return on investment is very high. You can find Ugluk on Guild Node 1, Malhir on Light Node 2.1, Dunhar on Shadow Node 1.1, and Morja on Shadow Node 2.5. These are, of course, the hard nodes. There's also Ajak, but Ajak is in Chapter 4 of one of the campaigns, so he doesn't quite meet the criteria of this list. Hey guys, I'm in the editing bay, and I kind of wanted to mention that Ajak is definitely worth the farm. Just because he didn't meet the criteria for this video doesn't mean that he's bad. He's actually a really essential member of the Isengard team, and he makes them even better in Chapter 2, so just keep that in mind. I just wanted to mention that. Okay, back to the real guy. Isengard does one thing really well. That is apply Banes. And not just Banes, but the Banes that you need to do a lot of damage in Chapter 2. They do a lot of bleeds. They're also really good at getting through the Shadow campaign. They're going to do it really well for you, especially right next to Ironhide. They also have passive healing, so anytime one of them inflicts a Bane, because of Ugluk's ability, all of them are healed. This, in my opinion, is where their strengths end. They have that passive healing, but it's not always enough, especially later into a run during the raid. Dunhar also has a heal ability, which is okay, but it's a single target heal, so it doesn't heal the entire team as much as you would like. And while there are a handful of assist abilities, unfortunately there are no AoEs on the team, so they actually have a hard time in Chapter 1 without a little help from a plug-and-play character. So with that in mind, my assessment is that Isengard is best in Chapter 2. They can work everywhere else, they're gonna get you points, but they're best in Chapter 2, and at some point, way down the line, you may end up replacing them in other chapters with better suited teams. Number 4 on my list is Elves with the Legolas lead. Come on, this is Lord of the Rings. You think we're gonna get away with not playing with elves? I mean, that's why we're here, right? Let's talk about where you can get elves. You can get Legolas from the Arena Supply. Elrahir is on Guild Node 3.1. Naramiri is on Guild Node 2.1. Lomian is on Light Node 2.9. And Laelio is on Shadow Node 3.9. Now, there are other elves in the game, obviously, but these are the elves that you're going to have access to the soonest. So, in my opinion, you want to farm these guys up to 5 stars. That way you're ready for Elrond. Let's talk about their strengths. Like I said, you need these guys for Elrond anyway, so farming them for the raid is going to be a good idea. Legolas also has a really good leadership ability, especially if you don't have Elrond yet. It's really good in Chapter 2 at controlling the flow of the battle. And among the elves that I've mentioned, there's also going to be a good bit of plug-and-play potential down the line, especially in terms of Naramiri. I think Naramiri might be the best healer in the game, aside from Elrond himself. Elves are also just in general pretty fast. I know Legolas is one of the faster characters in the game. In fact, I think he's like number 3 or 4. And Elrahir is up there pretty high too. But aside from that, they are pretty squishy early on. They're not going to take a ton of hits. Luckily, you're going to gain some stacks of Nimble here and there, and that will help. So with all this in mind, in terms of the best chapters for them, because of Legolas, I think they're really good in Chapter 2. Because of the healing from Naramiri, they're really good in Chapter 3. And then because of the cleansing ability of Naramiri, they're also pretty good in Chapter 4. Again, Naramiri's going to move around where you need her at some point. And lastly, I'm breaking my own criteria rule here. I want to talk about Haradrim. Now, 2 of Haradrim's characters are in the 4th chapter of their respective campaigns, but they are relatively free-to-play friendly, especially since they fixed Tabib. Speaking of Tabib, you can get Tabib from the Challenge Supply. Ubete is in the Guild Supply. Bakilu is in Guild Node 4.7. F2 is in Light Node 1.9, and Rebel is on Shadow Node 4.1. Again, the light and shadow nodes are hard nodes. So let's talk about what Haradrim does really well. Haradrim applies a unique bane called Black Serpent's Poison. Now what that does is whenever a character that has Black Serpent's Poison is about to get a boon, instead they get poisoned. This is really good against the troll. It stops him from gaining stacks of momentum and instead replaces them with stacks of poison. This also can be used on the War Guard in the raid to stop him from gaining stacks of Provoke. And lastly, this is kind of a soft counter to Elrond right now. Not perfect, but I think with Glyphs, they could be a strong opponent to Elrond. I'm telling you, once Glyphs come out, I think this team is going to be a powerhouse in the game. Aside from the Black Serpent's Poison, Haradrim is also sharing all of their passive abilities with each other. If you've ever played Galaxy of Heroes, it's very much akin to the Phoenix Squadron. With that said, they actually have a pretty big weak spot, and that is that Black Serpent's Poison is coming from one character, Rebel. Rebel's passive is the one that says, on a crit, inflict Black Serpent's Poison. Now, when Rebel dies, that passive ability is gone, and then the only way to apply Black Serpent's Poison is with Bakilu's Special 2 ability. They're also really good at controlling the flow of the battle. Tabib, the leader, their Special 2 ability grants haste to the entire team, and at the same time, Rebel, both their basic and their Special 2 abilities reduce turn meter from the enemy. In general, Haradrim is just really good at every chapter of the raid, so they're definitely worth the farm once you can do it. So, with all 5 of my teams out of the way, let's talk about some plug-and-play characters. First, I want to talk about Naramiri. I know I mentioned her in the Legolas squad, and I still stand by that. She should be on the Legolas squad to start with. But once you have another elf that can get slotted into that team, Naramiri is a really good traveler. She can go on any team and be extremely beneficial. The heal is very powerful, and also the cleanse is really good. She's on guild node 2-1, so she's a pretty early farm, and I would highly recommend farming her up to 7 stars right after this next guy. Next is Ironhide. Remember when I said Isengard has no AoEs? Well, do I have the solution for you?
Get out of my way!
Ironhide comes in with not 1 but 2 AoE abilities. His first AoE ability removes boons from the enemy team, and on top of that, he does a crap load of damage. I mean, a lot of damage. He's a little slow and clunky, but when he hits hard. And he only gets more and more powerful the more damage he takes, so keep that in mind. Next is the Troll Brute. The Troll Brute's farmable now. The Brute used to not be a free-to-play character. You could, but anybody that's free-to-play may now have him at 7 stars, but did not before he was moved to a node. He is also going to bring you an AoE, and he's really powerful. He has strong attacks. And those are my top 3 plug-and-play characters. I was going to mention Halbarad, but he is in the challenge supply, so he's right next to Tabib. And if I'm being honest, I think you're better off farming Tabib in that instance. So what are my final thoughts on this? Well, to start with, you should learn from my mistake. I went really wide when I started the game. What you should do is farm 5 teams up to 3 or 4 stars, and then focus on 1 team. Get that 1 team to a 900,000 point run in Chapter 1, and then start working on the next one. Chapter 1 is where you're going to score most of your points in the raid. It's just how it is. So, the best practice is to get 1 team to score really high, and then start working on your next team. Now, you should have every team hitting at least 100,000 points, but beyond that, make sure you're getting your number 1 team to 900,000 points as quickly as possible. Now, you don't have to take my recommendation, but my opinion is it's best for you to focus on Elves first. Like I mentioned before, they are the requirement for Elrond, and as soon as you have Elrond, you're going to have a much easier time getting your Elves to a 900k run. I will admit that some people may disagree with that, but if I had to start over, I would really focus Elves first. Then, if any of your teams are scoring below 90,000 points in Chapter 3, I want you to take a look at this video that I put out last week. It's going to tell you the best way for you to get a minimum 90,000 point score in Chapter 3. Alright, I think that's good for this video. If you're a new player and you have any questions, or if you're a veteran player and you want to talk about any of my points, absolutely leave a comment below and we'll talk about it. Don't forget to like and subscribe and follow me over on Twitch. And of course, if you want to see anything covered, use my link below to get to my suggestion box. Alright guys, appreciate you watching. Bye! They are also... What are words? What are words, dude? He is now on node 2-4 in one of the campaigns. I don't remember. Why? Do you want to say something, Discord? I didn't think so. Wait, that's not true. Hold on. I just lied. Don't listen to me. I don't know what I'm talking about. And her special one is also amazing. Haradrim, on his turn... no. What the am I saying? Sure. Which I guess is another piece of the game. Hold on. Haradrim... you. 1. Bye.